With the light of the dawn ere the sun had risen, the words of Allah's revelation now descended. Then proclaim openly what you are bidden. Upon Mount Safa the messenger quickly ascended. Ya Sabaha! His voice resounded through the city, and people began rushing from their homes fearfully. O sons of Fir, he called, O sons of Adi, O sons of Abd Manaf, and O Abdul Muttalib's sons. To each tribe and clan the Prophet made his plea, until a huge crowd had gathered in response. Then the messenger addressed all the assembled groups. O people of Quraysh, if I were to proclaim unto you that the valley behind me is filled with enemy troops, would you not then believe what I have said is true? Yes, of course, the Quraysh cried one and all in unison. And why not? For you, Muhammad, are the truest one. Then hear my warning of a thing more severe, for I am like one who sees a danger approaching you. The blazing fire, will you then your Lord not fear? For I have indeed, O my people, been sent unto you. While all of Quraysh stood by in silence stunned, Abu Lahab turned red of cheek as his anger fled. May you perish! Is it for this that you summoned? And left raging at what his nephew had declared. From above, Jibreel with an answer suddenly came. May Abu Lahab's hands perish, and may he perish. His wealth will not avail him, nor what he earned. He will soon be made to burn in a fire of blazing flame, and his wife, she who is the carrier of firewood, on her neck shall be a halter of palm fiber turned. A raging Jamil came carrying a heavy stone. Abu Bakr, she said, where is he who ridiculed me? If he were here now, a due response would be shown. By God, how I would break his mouth certainly. Indeed we reject him, Mudammam that reprobate. His words we refuse and his religion we hate. As she kept on reciting those words so vile, Abu Bakr was shocked and gave no reply, for the Prophet was next to him all the while, being protected by his Lord miraculously. Is it not wondrous, he said when she went away, how our Lord turns aside even their words from me? She insults Mudammam the reprobate, as you see, while I am Muhammad, the most praiseworthy. Abu Bakr looked at his face and nodded in affirmation, amazed by the Prophet's optimism in every situation. Banu Hashim, Muttalib, Nawfal, Asad and Zuhra, Banu Abduddar, Amir, Harith, Tayman Adi, Banu Makhzum, Abdu Shams, Sahm and Jumah. These were the 14 clans of Quraysh's family. Some called him a liar, while others named him insane, and denied that Allah would send a human prophet. The recitation they claimed was just ancient sorcery, or that it was Muhammad himself who fabricated it. Among all he had always been loved and respected, but now for the first time his word was being rejected. Yet the Prophet did not lose hope, nor did he falter, never cowing before the harsh words of any critic, nor in his duty fearing the blame of any blamer, proclaiming the truth despite every doubting cynic. Noon, by the pen and that which they are writing, you, by your Lord's favor, suffer not from insanity. For you there shall be a reward that is unending, and you are upon a lofty standard of morality. You will soon see, and they shall soon come to see, which of you has been afflicted with insanity. Amr ibn Hisham would be the worst of them in arrogance. He would never come to a discussion except it turned ugly. So he became known as Abu Jahl, the father of ignorance, when he began to mislead and incite the entire community. Each day groups of men would pull the messenger aside, and in every gathering come to question him incessantly. The messenger would listen and let their anger subside, then with logic respond to all their objections patiently. And when they could neither intimidate nor defeat him, they would raise their voices and then retreat from him. Mention your Lord within yourself, humble and fearing, without loudness in speech, morning and evening. Thus the believers would each day purify their intentions, and worship their Lord with hope and apprehension. Since they could not yet practice their faith openly, and even their own homes housed its enemies, the believers in small groups would go out secretly to pray together amid the mountain's cooling breeze. There they would call upon their Lord in humility and pray for the guidance of their entire community. But one day a group of malicious pagans passed by there and chanced upon the believers whom they had heard, reciting verses of the Quran whilst engaged in prayer, so they began provoking them through action and word. Mutually enraged, fighting broke out over it, and with a camel's jawbone Sa'd struck a pagan. When they retreated and informed the Prophet, he recited to them the words of revelation. Bear what they say with due patience, and avoid them with a fair avoidance. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said one starlit night, Quraysh has not yet heard the revelation, so let me go before them tomorrow to recite in front of the Kaaba at Abram's station. The Beneficent One has taught the recitation, has created man, taught him the way of expression. The sun and moon follow a precise calculation, and the stars and the trees fall in adoration. And the heaven he raised imposing the measure, that you transgress not within the measure. The Quraysh in confusion looked one at the other, before they finally realized what was being said. They rushed upon Abdullah with sudden anger, and rained down swift blows upon his head. This is what we had been for you apprehending. Never were Allah's enemies so light as today. He replied with his face swollen and bleeding. No, they exclaimed, you have truly done a lot. You made them listen to what they wished not. The messenger was with an important delegation of chiefs and notables of Quraysh who had gathered, and was kept fully occupied by them in conversation, when a blind man among the believers was heard. O Muhammad, teach me that information, which was taught to you by divine revelation. And when he who was among those in attendance had grown annoyed at the blind man's interruption, he frowned and turned his back with impatience at how he was diverted from the conversation. And for that Jibreel with revelation appeared. He frowned and then he had turned aside, because to him the blind man had neared. And what would make you know inside that perhaps he might become purified, or be reminded and benefit by the reminder? All those in attendance were completely stunned that this new religion would give such attention to a poor blind man by the wealthy being shunned, that it would even make it a point of contention. Indeed, we sent it down on the night of decree. And how can you know what is the night of decree? The night of decree is superior to 1,000 months. Therein the angels and the spirits are sent down, with the permission of their Lord for every matter. Peace, it is until the emergence of the dawn. The words of the Quran kept drawing attention, and Mecca was changing, this much was clear. Now the pagans knew something had to be done, or their ancestral ways would soon disappear. Anmar came to Khabbab with her clan angrily. Oh, you slave, we heard something we cannot accept. They say you left your religion to follow that Hashimi. I believe in Allah alone. The worship of idols I reject. Khabbab, a blacksmith by trade, to her calmly replied, that Muhammad is Allah's messenger, I have testified. Siba'a fell upon him when he said what he said, and the youth of Banu Khuz'a beat him more. They picked up bars of iron and struck his head, and left him bleeding unconscious on the floor. The chiefs of Mecca's elite were taken aback at a mere slave's incredible daring and audacity. He who had no clan to defend him from attack was nonetheless here declaring his beliefs openly. They became fearful of uprising and revolution, and met together to find an effective solution. From Banu Makhzum, chiefs of Quraysh's military, Walid ibn al-Mughira and Abu Jahl were sent, along with their kin Khalid, Umar and Ikrimah, youth who were well known for their strength. From Banu Abdu Shams, the next to enter inside, was Utbah, his brother Shaybah, and Abu Sufyan, among the greatest of men in both wealth and pride, and though they were the closest to them in relation, no love was lost between them and Hashim's sons, for their rivalry had been raging on for generations. Banu Abduddar, custodians of the Kaaba named, sent Nadr ibn al-Harith for his learning famed, and Banu Nawfal was by Mut'im ibn Adi led, while Jubayr and Tu'ayma followed in his stead. Banu Sahm, who prepared offerings for the idols, sent Al-As ibn Wa'il along with Amr his son. Banu Jumah, the casters of lots before the idols, and closest of all clans to Banu Sahm in relation, sent Umayyah ibn Khalaf, cruel and corpulent, along with his son Safwan of harsh temperament. And Banu Amir ibn Lu'ay, the seventh of them, sent Suhail, renowned for his eloquent tongue, and Amr ibn Abduwad, a stalwart and strong, warrior considered equal to 1,000 men. Muhammad had been a man well liked among you. Now Nadr ibn al-Harith to his fellow chieftains said, the most truthful in speech and trustworthy indeed, until the time when grey hairs appeared on his head. You claimed he is a sorcerer, poet, or had lost his mind, when we all know that he resembles not their kind. He does not blow in knots, nor does he compose poetry, and his words are not the utterances of one delirious. So, O Quraysh, think well how to respond appropriately, for this is a situation for you most grave and serious. O Abu Talib, of your position we are aware, and recognize your rank and age as is due, but this situation is more than we can bear. Our gods are being abused by your nephew. If you do not restrain him, we shall soon act, and against his supporters will make a pact. Spare me and yourself, Abu Talib said, when he visited the Prophet in privacy, and do not place a burden upon my head, greater than what I can bear to carry. Oh, uncle, I swear by Allah with certainty, even if they would place in my right hand, the sun and the moon in my left would be, I am not going to swerve from where I stand, and for this mission I will continue to strive, till Allah's word prevails or I lay down my life. Abu Talib hearing this was affected deeply, and by Allah I will not stop defending you. As long as I live, say whatever you like openly. This uncle of yours will never abandon you. The Prophet then put forth his own suggestion. I request from them a word which if they say, it will lead them towards such a grand dominion, with the Arabs and non-Arabs under their sway. We would say 10 gladly. What is that word? Say there is no God but Allah, he answered. With pride and stubbornness they went away. Has he made all the gods into one God only? A mere sorcerer and a liar, they began to say. Keep going and defend your gods patiently. The Prophet was sitting with a group one day, among them Ammar, Suhaib, Bilal and Khabbab. The chiefs of Quraysh passed by and began to say, and here are the barefoot ones in beggar's garb, as they drew up their cloaks with haughtiness. The ones to whom God has shown favor over us. O Muhammad, are you satisfied indeed with the likes of these ones as your followers? Should we enter after them taking the lead? If you dismiss them we might not be averse. Drive not away those who upon their Lord do call morning and evening, his countenance desiring. Came the response by revelation that silenced all. Thus do we try some by others, so they will be saying, are these the ones amongst us whom Allah favored? Is Allah of the grateful ones not most assured? Yet the thinking of the chiefs remained primitive, believing if they had wealth they had superiority, and the poor were they to whom Allah wouldn't give, so why should they then go and relieve their poverty? And the Quraysh saw in them other kinds of inferiority. Not only were some of them not originally from Mecca, they were not even Arabs on both sides of their family. And how could they with the sons of slaves be put on par? Were shepherds now expecting to sit among nobles and chiefs just because they followed Muhammad and his strange beliefs? The striking calamity. What is the striking calamity? And how will you comprehend what is the striking calamity? The day when men shall be like moths scattered about, and the mountains shall be like wool carded into tufts. Then as for him whose deeds in the scales weigh heavily, he will live a life of felicity. Then as for him whose deeds in the scales weigh too light, his abode will be the abyss. And how will you know what it is? A fire burning fiercely bright. The chiefs of Quraysh were used to luxury, and they had lived freely without restriction. They hated even the thought of accountability, and thus remained the foremost in opposition. He is only saying this for some purpose, and we have never heard its like before. To him would it be sent from amongst us? It is just an invention and nothing more. So they went around with their calumny, claiming the Quran was just forged poetry. They had known Muhammad since childhood, and never once had he ever spoken a lie. Nor was seen from him anything but good. His virtues were apparent and his morals high. In 40 years he had never had any teacher, and had not composed even one line of poetry. He was not among the ones versed in scripture, nor had he sought after any great rank in society. The people of Mecca knew all of this and more, but tongues denied while their hearts were sure. By the sun and her brightness, and the moon when he follows her, and the day when it displays it, and the night when it covers her, and the sky and its construction, and the earth and its expansion, and the soul and its proportion, then he inspired it with recognition of what is wrong and right for it. Indeed he succeeds who purifies it, and indeed he fails who corrupts it. The Quraysh thought that they had mastered the highest pinnacle in their command of Arabic, but the Quran surpassed all poetry and rhetoric, and was unlike anything they had ever heard. 3 chiefs secretly came out one night, and hid near to the Prophet's residence. Each in amazement listened to him recite, and marveled at its beauty and eloquence. When dawn arrived, each one crept away, and came across each other on the way. Abu al-Hakam, Abu Sufyan, Al-Akhnas, you! Each shaming each other with words of blame. What if people came to know of what we do? But the next 2 nights they all did the same. Though by day they mocked and maligned, in the quiet of the night they felt to it drawn. They could not put the Quran out of their mind, and would be enraptured in awe each dawn, until shamed by each other they finally swore that they would never again approach his door. By the fig and the olive and by Mount Sinai, and then I swear by this very city of security, we have made man in the best of molds certainly, then we returned him to the lowest of the low. Except those who believe and do good continuously, for them shall be a reward unfailing and continuous. Then what causes you to deny the recompense? Is Allah not among all judges the most judicious? The messenger performed ablution and began to pray at the station of Ibrahim, his most noble ancestor. Said Abu Jahl, "Did I not forbid you from this way? Don't you see in followers and might I am greater?" And while the pagans started to cheer and applaud, Jibreel descended with a revelation from his Lord. Have you seen he who forbids a servant when he prays? Have you seen if he is on guidance or calls to piety? Have you seen if he denies and turns away? Does he not know that Allah does see? But nay, if he does not desist immediately, indeed him we shall by his forehead seize, that lion forehead that is acting sinfully. So then let him call whomsoever he please. We will summon the stern guardians here. Nay, obey him not, prostrate and draw near. Fearless, audacious, and full of great arrogance, no one was safe from the evil of Abu Jahl's ways. By his tongue, his hand, and his foul influence, he would injure or incite people into a craze. Boycott that merchant! Ostracize that fool! Your forefathers' dignity is being denigrated. Will you allow slaves to revolt against your rule? Or replace your ancestral religion with one fabricated? Such was the father of ignorance wherever he went. He would bar people from guidance and spread dissent. So some called it a lie while others declared it truth. Father turned against son, brother against brother. Spouse turned against spouse, elder against youth, and even the closest of friends opposed one another. The pagans would pass by the messenger frequently, accosting him with all kinds of accusations and abuse. He would extend words of peace, speaking cordially, and ask them to reflect upon their irrational views. Still they would argue with him, shouting over each other, and when one finished there would then come another. Al-Aswad ibn Abd Yaghuth was among the worst in rejection, abusing the messenger and the believers at every opportunity. So Miqdad, his former slave who was now his adopted son, kept his faith concealed and continued practicing in secrecy. Among the most bitterly divided was Abu Bakr's household. Ruman, Abdullah, Asma, and Aisha followed his religion, but Qutayla and Abdul Uzza to polytheism continued to hold. So Abu Bakr dissociated from them both after firm admonition. And though Salma, his mother, believed through and through, Abu Quhafa wouldn't abandon what his forefathers used to do.
I swear by the day in decline, verily man is in a state of deficiency, except for those ones who believe, and perform righteous deeds constantly, and upon one another truth enjoin, and upon one another patience enjoin.
Ammar and his entire family were made to suffer, subjected each day to harsh persecution and violence. And Mus'ab ibn Umair was thrown out by his mother, so he experienced hardships after a life of affluence. Nahdiyah, a slave woman, was being tortured, and so was Ubays, her daughter too, till Abu Bakr passed and saw their suffering, and he took it upon himself to free them too. He had freed several of the poorest in this way, after hearing of the hardships of Judgment Day. Abu Quhafa approached Abu Bakr and said, "My son, you spend your wealth on the weak. Why don't you free some strong men instead?" "O father," he said, "Allah's pleasure is all I seek." Al-Hakam came to Uthman, his brother's son. "Have you indeed left your forefathers' creed? You must return back from this new religion, or else I swear that you shall never be freed." "I will not forsake this faith," Uthman replied. So Al-Hakam beat Ibn Affan and left him tied. Talha ibn Ubaidullah was goaded by a crowd, while an old woman was throwing stones at him. "That is his mother, Sa'bah," one man said aloud. "He left his faith obeying the man of Banu Hashim." An enraged Abu Jahl at Ibn Mas'ud clawed, and rained down punches upon his face. "Shepherd, have you all our gods abhorred, and taken one God alone in their place?" But Ibn Mas'ud would continue reciting, and his faith he made no attempt at hiding. "Say he is Allah, the only one, Allah, who is not in need of anyone. He begets not, nor was he begotten, and for him there is no comparison." Then Umayyah ibn Khalaf, proud and wealthy, discovered his slave Bilal had become a Muslim. So he dragged him out with harshness and cruelty, and before the eyes of the Quraysh he paraded him. Then he tied him down bare upon the burning sand, and threatened him, brandishing a whip in his hand. "O Bilal, know that I will never let you be free until you die or have returned back to our way, to worship Allat and Al-Uzza most dutifully." But the word oneness, Bilal continued to say. Umayyah stood over Bilal with a sneer of disgust, while he kept cracking his whip onto him violently. But even as his blood began to mix with the dust, with every breath Bilal professed his Lord's unity. So Umayyah placed the heaviest rock upon his chest, laughing at the pain Bilal felt as it burned and pressed. "Won't you fear Allah?" said Abu Bakr passing by. "How long will you continue to oppress this man? If you care so much, why not buy him from me? Just 10 measures of gold and he shall be free." "Ha! By Allat and Al-Uzza," Umayyah cried. "To accept even 1 measure, I was prepared. And by Allah," Abu Bakr to him calmly replied, "to pay even 100 I was prepared." So each one looked on with barely subdued glee, as Bilal cast away his chains and was now free. The name Muhammad was now on everyone's lips, some praising him for bringing salvation and guidance, others accusing him of creating trouble and hardships, but Mecca had long been on the brink of subsidence. Though against their foes they put up a united front, the pagans bore between themselves much animosity. Years would not erase the memory of a single affront, and each clan and tribe proclaimed its own superiority. The feuds and grudges of their ancestors they inherited, and would claim virtues in things that were not merited. Thus a sudden clamor erupted in Mecca's streets, as voices were raised and grew increasingly loud. The notables of 2 tribes assembled with conceit, and began to quarrel in front of the gathered crowd. "We have more chiefs and members than you," some of Banu Abdu Manaf declared with pride, and when they had counted and found it true, some of Banu Sahm in their stubbornness replied, "If the dead among our tribes would also count, we would surely outnumber you in their amount." The argument grew even more heated at this jibe, till they all rushed to the graveyards with eagerness, and began counting the dead relatives of each tribe, each seeking to thereby validate their arrogance. The messenger felt upset at this display of arrogance, until Jibreel came to him with the words of revelation. "You have been diverted by mutual competition, until even to the graves you make visitation. Nay, indeed you are soon going to know. Then nay, indeed you are soon going to know. Nay, if you only knew with the knowledge of certainty, you are most certainly going to see the blazing fire. Then you will surely see it with the eye of certainty. Then that day you will surely be asked about delight." Now at the cusp of the blessed month of Dhul Hijjah, their proud ones and their mighty had assembled. Among them like Haman was Walid ibn al-Mughira, while Abu Jahl in conceit Fir'aun himself resembled. Thus the chiefs each came out dressed in their finery, and plotted together to put an end to Islam finally. "O Quraysh, the pilgrim's approach is nigh. Let us agree upon a single word, one and all, so that no man amongst us may the other belie, when we are asked about Muhammad's call." "Then let us say he is a soothsayer, certainly." "No, he does not murmur or vaguely insinuate." "Then he is mad or possessed by an evil entity." "No, there are no indications at all of that state." "Then he is a poet or speaking rhythmically." "Or he is a magician performing sorcery." "No, poetry of every form we have seen. His speech does not into any meter fall, and he does not engage in acts unclean, or like magicians blow on notes at all." "Then, O son of Mughira, what is your view?" "His words are sweet, well-based and fruitful. Whatever ye say about him is proven untrue, but let me think what will best find approval." So he reflected and frowned and deliberated, turned and with arrogance became inflated. "This is naught but ancient magic handed down. This is nothing more than a mere mortal's word. Thereby he creates troubles and divides families, claiming that he is receiving Allah's decrees. And has Allah for his revelation selected Muhammad over a great man of the 2 cities? I, Walid, Quraysh's greatest chief, am neglected, while I have great wealth and sons and ease. And there is in Ta'if Urwa ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqifi, who might also have revelation if it were reality." But while Walid thought of himself as great, and an army of sycophants would stoke his vanity, his view against the truth could never militate, and the response from God came with true gravity. "Soon in Saqar I shall have him thrown. And what is Saqar? How will you understand?
It leaves nothing, spares not, burns to the bone. Over it 19 do stand. And we have not placed any other besides angels as the fire's keepers, and made not their number but a trial for disbelievers.
This was just one of many descriptions of the fire, a terrible place of punishment for the reckless proud, meant to warn mankind from following low desires, and it was this warning that was recited to a crowd. But instead Abu Jahl snorted,
"Do you not hear? Oh, Quraysh, are you folk so powerless and weak? One keeper to be handled by each 10 of you here."
"Nay," retorted Abu Shaddain as he stood to speak, "I myself will be taking care of the first 17, and let the rest among you all be divided between."
At Abu Talib's house arrived a group waiting to be fed. Each one of them was a chief, wealthy and famous, and having eaten they drew up their cloaks and said,
"Now what is it that your nephew wants from us?"
Abu Talib turned to Muhammad to answer instead, so he stood before them and spoke clear and true.
"I am the messenger that Allah has sent," he said, "as a warner and a bringer of glad tidings to you. So, O my people, worship none except Allah alone, and turn away from those idols of wood and stone."
"This is enough now. This is doomed to fail," exclaimed Uqbah, annoyed and exasperated. "With him indeed no words shall ever avail. It is far better he be killed and eliminated." Abu Talib looked at him but stayed silent. Had it not been shameful to abuse a guest, Uqbah would never have found him so patient. Still the matter upon his heart heavily pressed. Not only were the Quraysh adamant on mockery, but now here they were making threats openly. And Uqbah was of course aware of their customs. His clan would know to expect some retribution. Yet if he was so brazen it only meant one thing. All of Quraysh had approved of such an action. The next day the Prophet went somewhere, and by nightfall he still had not yet returned. So Abu Talib searched for him everywhere. His face grew darker and more concerned. With every hour after the light started to fade, recalling the threat that Uqbah had made. With a demeanor like the coldest steel, and a look that would brook no argument, Abu Talib summoned his clan together, donning his armor and armaments.
"O sons of Hashim and of Al-Muttalib, sharpen your swords now and follow me. Then sit down near a chief of every clan, and among them by Abu Jahl especially. For if my nephew has indeed been slain, ignorant of the plot he would not remain. When you see me stand up and make the call, O Quraysh, we want Muhammad from you. Draw out your swords and strike one and all, until you have each killed the man next to you."
Zayd entered and found the air heavy with tension. "No harm has come to Allah's messenger," he cried. "He is in a house by a Safa carrying out his mission. He became delayed, but just now I was at his side." Abu Talib's shoulders slumped and he let out a sigh.
"Take me so that I may see him with my own eyes."
When Abu Talib saw him, he became emotional. "Oh, my brother's son, oh, where have you been?" Muhammad smiled brightly and hugged his uncle, assuring him that no mistreatment had he seen. An uneasiness remained over Abu Talib even so. Today it was true Muhammad had not been attacked, but hostility against him each day continued to grow, and soon some wretch might be emboldened to act. So the next morning Abu Talib went to the sanctuary, instructing the youth of Banu Hashim to follow closely.
"O Quraysh,"
he declared in a voice that made heads turn,
"last night Muhammad was gone and I feared for his safety. Do you know what I intend to do if he did not return?"
"And what is that?" they asked, exchanging glances furtively. Then every Hashimi man drew out his blade upon his call, and the chiefs trembled seeing how far Abu Talib dared.
"I swear by God," he said, "had any harm come to him at all, no one, not a single one of you would have been spared.